In a cinematic moment that has already left readers breathless and viewers teary-eyed, the trailer for Regretting You, Colleen Hoover's powerful and heart-wrenching novel, has finally been released. And it is every bit as intense, emotional, and raw as fans had hoped. The 2.5-minute preview is more than just a teaser, it's a journey into love, loss, betrayal, and healing, brought to life by a phenomenal cast including McKenna Grace, Allison Williams, Mason Thames, and Dave Franco. The trailer opens with Clara, played by the ever-talented McKenna Grace, narrating a bittersweet reflection on her family. Her words, soft, yet heavy with the weight of loss, set the tone. My mom got pregnant with me when she was 18. She and my dad were high school sweethearts. My Aunt Jenny also ended up with her high school boyfriend. I thought we would be one big happy family forever. But the universe had other plans. That line alone encapsulates the heartbreak and sudden upheaval that defines the emotional core of Regretting You. We're then thrown into the shocking and tragic event that rips this family apart, a devastating car crash that claims the lives of Morgan's husband and sister. The grief is palpable, etched across the faces of Morgan, played by Allison Williams, and Clara. This isn't just a story of a mother and daughter mourning the same loss, it's the unraveling of everything they thought they knew about love, loyalty, and truth. But Regretting You doesn't stop at grief. As the trailer slowly peels back layers of the story, a deeper and more complicated web begins to reveal itself. Questions emerge. Why were Morgan's husband and sister in the car together? What secrets were they keeping? And how much of the truth should be protected, especially when it might shatter the fragile world Clara is trying so desperately to hold on to? Enter Dave Franco as Jonah, the brother-in-law also left behind in the wreckage of this family tragedy. His presence brings an added complexity, grief shared, but not always expressed the same way. There are glances, silences, and arguments between Morgan and Jonah that hint at a growing suspicion that perhaps the accident wasn't just a tragic coincidence. Could there have been an affair? And if so, what does that mean for everything Morgan believed about her marriage, and her sister? As Morgan tries to hold things together for Clara, their once close bond begins to crack. Clara pulls away, turning to Miller, played by Mason Thames, the charming and seemingly carefree classmate who offers her an escape from the sorrow. But even that connection is fraught with its own tension. As he later calls her out, saying, "You keep using me to piss your mom off, and I'm done with it." We understand that every relationship in this story, parental, romantic, familial, is deeply layered, and no one escapes unscathed. This is just the beginning of a tangled and gripping emotional roller coaster, one where every character must face not only their pain but their past choices. As the trailer continues, the emotional tension escalates, delving deeper into the widening rift between mother and daughter. Morgan, once the pillar of strength in Clara's world, is now a stranger navigating her own grief and guilt. Allison Williams brings a quiet intensity to Morgan's struggle, her eyes constantly searching for a way back to her daughter, her voice trembling with unsaid truths and buried sorrow. There's a haunting moment when she quietly confesses, "It feels like there's this wall between her and me." It's a simple line, but it lands with devastating force, because that wall isn't just emotional, it's built on years of unspoken fears, hidden truths, and now, a shocking betrayal. Morgan is not only dealing with the pain of losing her husband and sister in one brutal moment, she's also tormented by the growing suspicion that they may have betrayed her together. The possibility of an affair between her late husband and her sister gnaws at her, threatening to unravel every cherished memory. Dave Franco's portrayal of Jonah, Morgan's brother-in-law and fellow grieving partner in this tragedy, adds layers of nuance. He doesn't shy away from the truth, even as it threatens to rip the family further apart. His insistence that Clara deserves to know what really happened clashes with Morgan's desperate desire to shield her daughter from more pain. Yet, amidst this storm of grief and secrecy, Clara is trying to make sense of her world in her own way. She finds fleeting moments of comfort in Miller, the effortlessly cool classmate played by Mason Thames. At first, Miller seems like a breath of fresh air. He's funny, understanding, and unaffected by the chaos consuming Clara's life. But even this budding romance is fraught with emotional landmines. Clara, torn between her need for connection and her simmering resentment toward her mother, begins to use Miller as a pawn in their growing emotional war. It's a dangerous game, one that threatens to leave both of them hurt. Miller, sensing this manipulation, doesn't stay silent. His line, "You keep using me to piss your mom off, and I'm done with it," delivers a brutal dose of honesty that Clara isn't ready for. It's a pivotal moment in the trailer that highlights how grief doesn't just break hearts, it distorts relationships, pushes boundaries, and forces people to confront parts of themselves they'd rather ignore. What makes Regretting You stand out isn't just the emotional weight of the story, it's the way each character is forced to grow through their pain. Clara must learn that rebellion won't heal her wounds. Morgan must realize that silence can sometimes be more damaging than the truth. And somewhere in the middle of all this heartbreak, there's still love, broken, messy, but undeniably real. By this point in the trailer, it's clear, this isn't just a coming-of-age story, or a tale of romantic betrayal. It's about forgiveness, resilience, and the incredibly complicated bonds that tie mothers and daughters together, even when those bonds are strained to the breaking point. As the trailer reaches its emotional crescendo, we begin to see how the past is not just haunting Morgan and Clara, it's actively shaping their present and threatening to steal their future. Colleen Hoover's gripping story was always more than a tale of loss. It's about the lies we tell to protect the ones we love, and the truth that inevitably finds its way to the surface. For Morgan, that truth is wrapped in a guilt so heavy, it's almost unbearable. The haunting suspicion that her husband and her sister were entangled in something more than family runs like a current beneath every moment. Even in scenes where nothing is said outright, the expressions on Morgan's face, the long silences, the uneasy glances exchanged with Jonah, all speak volumes. Dave Franco's portrayal of Jonah adds a raw vulnerability. He's clearly still deeply grieving his wife, but the pain is tangled with anger, confusion, and the heavy responsibility of deciding whether to keep secrets or expose them. As the trailer reveals more flashbacks, we see glimpses of the life that once was, laughter-filled dinners, backyard barbecues, joyful moments shared between two seemingly close-knit couples. It's heartbreaking to watch these scenes knowing they're all built on a foundation that may have never been as solid as it appeared. The betrayal, whether real or perceived, turns every happy memory into something painful, a cruel contrast between what was and what will never be again. Meanwhile, Clara's world continues to unravel. Her relationship with Miller, which once offered a sliver of hope, begins to falter under the weight of her emotional turmoil. Clara is lost, and in her desperation to assert some form of control, she begins lashing out, not just at her mother, but at the very people trying to care for her. It's a painfully honest depiction of teenage grief. McKenna Grace delivers a performance that feels so real it stings. Every time she turns away from Morgan, every slammed door, every eye roll and cutting remark, it's not just teenage rebellion. It's the manifestation of heartbreak, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of abandonment. Morgan watches all of this unfold, helpless to reach her daughter. She wants to tell her everything, to explain the truth, the doubts, the fear, but how do you explain to your child that the father she idolized may not have been the man she thought he was? How do you admit that your own grief is tangled in anger and betrayal? But there's a quiet shift in the trailer. Amid all the chaos, moments of tenderness begin to surface. A scene where Morgan silently watches Clara sleep, brushing the hair from her face. Another where Jonah and Morgan share a quiet conversation under the stars, not about the past, but about moving forward. These moments hint at the possibility of healing. That even in the midst of unimaginable pain, there can still be connection, redemption, and love. And then comes the line that anchors the entire story, Morgan's emotional declaration to Clara. "There's a lot I wish I had done differently, but I'll never spend 1 second regretting you." It's the kind of line that breaks you and puts you back together all at once. Because at its core, regretting you isn't about betrayal, or even about grief, it's about unconditional love. As the trailer fades to its final emotional beats, we're left with more than just a preview. We're handed a mirror reflecting back the fragile complexity of family, love, and forgiveness. Regretting you may be wrapped in the aesthetics of a drama, but its soul lies in the shared heartbreak between a mother and daughter trying to find their way back to each other. Morgan's closing words in the trailer, "But I'll never spend 1 second regretting you," do more than just summarize her journey. They break the silence between her and Clara. That single line is the bridge over their emotional chasm. And for anyone who's ever experienced strained family dynamics, or tried to protect someone from a devastating truth, it rings with devastating honesty. But as powerful as Morgan's words are, the story also belongs to Clara. Her perspective, so fresh and raw, reminds viewers what it means to grow up in the shadow of adult decisions. Clara is forced to mature under the weight of unresolved grief and tangled legacies. And while she lashes out, questions everything, and even rebels, it's clear she's searching for someone to simply be real with her. Not perfect. Not protective. Just honest. This is where McKenna Grace shines. In scene after scene, she captures the wildness of youth crashing into the bitter lessons of adulthood. Clara is messy, confused, and achingly real, and the trailer doesn't shy away from showing her flaws. But it also allows us to root for her, to see how beneath all the pain, there's a girl who just wants to believe in something again. The inclusion of Miller, played by Mason Thames, adds another layer to Clara's journey. What begins as a sweet, flirtatious connection soon unravels into something deeper and more painful. The line, "You keep using me to piss your mom off, and I'm done with it," hits like a gut punch. Because it isn't just about teen romance, it's about how grief distorts relationships, how we hurt others when we don't know how to deal with our own hurt. But even Miller isn't just a love interest, he's a reminder that Clara is still capable of caring, even in her darkest moments. Meanwhile, the chemistry between Allison Williams and Dave Franco as Morgan and Jonah adds a slow-burning, delicate subplot that mirrors the central theme: is it ever possible to love again after betrayal? Their scenes hint at a deeper connection forged from shared trauma, but also cautious hope. They are two people trying to rebuild from the wreckage of the same explosion. And maybe, just maybe, they can find some healing together. As the trailer ends, backed by stirring music and final glimpses of the film's most emotionally charged moments, one thing becomes clear: this isn't just a story about death, or infidelity, or teenage rebellion. Regretting You is a story about survival. About forgiveness. About the complicated, beautiful truth of being a parent, a child, and a human being just trying to get through life. And when Regretting You hits theaters on October 24th, audiences will undoubtedly find themselves reliving their own family dynamics, confronting their own regrets, and, just like Morgan, realizing that even in life's darkest chapters, some people are always worth loving without regret.